Hello everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of Dayspring Discussions. I'm your host, Sean McGahee, and this is a show where we talk about movies, TV, sci-fi, fantasy, comic books. If you geek out about it, we're going to talk about it. You can listen to Dayspring Discussions on iTunes, YouTube, Podomatic, and Patreon, and contact Dayspring Discussions on the Facebook group, Twitter account, and dayspringdiscussions@gmail.com. Well, happy Tuesday, everyone. Hope you are enjoying your week, and I hope you had a great 4th of July. We had a pretty good one here at De Casa McGahee. Had a couple people over, had some grilling, had some good beer, had some good fun. It was all good. Even had a little Captain America marathon going on in the living room for some people. So overall, it was a nice July 4th. Hope you enjoyed yours. And now we are here, guys. It is the following week. Good week for me, actually. I'm on vacation, so kind of hanging out and, just kind of catching up on a few things, I guess you would say. I got a stack of movies from the Austin Public Library on Sunday, and these are movies that, I haven't watched that I've kind of, been meaning to. So I got a big old stack. Hopefully going to go through them and catch up on some movies. Last night I sat down and watched Ghost in the Shell, starring Scarlett Johansson. Not horrible, but not exactly great either. And then I also watched the HBO film Fahrenheit 451. Again, not the best, but it was okay. So got that. Got a couple of things going through. This morning I caught up and watched the newest episode of Young Justice Outsiders. So that was awesome. But got a lot of stuff to talk about today, guys. Of course, I want to talk a little bit about Spider-Man Far From Home. I want to talk Stranger Things 3 because I finished that yesterday. And then, of course, there's a couple Disney trailers that I want to talk about. But first, I got to get something off my mind. Something I've been meaning to talk about for over a week now was I'm a fan of the Buffy verse. Buffy the Vampire Slayer and the show Angel. More Angel than Buffy. I enjoy that more. And I think it was about a week or two ago, I wanted to read some of the Angel comics, Angel and Faith to be exact, and I can't find them digitally. And it's kind of bugged me, And then, of course, I go to look for Buffy Season 8. That's gone too, but I can still purchase Angel After the Fall. Now, when the whole Fox Disney deal thing happened, it not only affected, things like Star Wars and Marvel, but affected other properties as well. And I talked about this too last year when it was all going down, was Dark Horse had the rights to publish Buffy the Vampire Slayer and kind of the Buffyverse comics. And they've been doing that with their Season 8 through, I think, Season 12 is what they got through. Now, Angel actually, for a while there, was being published at IDW, but then the rights reverted back to Dark Horse. But since Dark Horse was owned by Fox, and then Disney snatched up Fox, that was included in there, and now you have Buffy comics and an Angel comic being rebooted, being published by Boom Studios. I can hop online to the digital library, Hoopla, and I can look, and they have Buffy the Vampire Slayer comics to read, but it's only the new ones. It's not anything published by Dark Horse Comics. Even if I jump on Amazon, I can't find digital versions of those books to buy. And this kind of bugs me a little bit. Now, I know, of course, when the acquisition was about to happen, they kind of made a big deal about the Star Wars comics not going to be published or available digitally anymore. But nobody said anything about Buffy. And it kind of irks me a little bit, of course, because now if I really want to read those stories, I have to read them in paperback, which is fine, It's just they're a little harder to find, a little harder to own. But IDW, like I said, I can still pick up Angel After the Fall, but I can't pick up Angel and Faith. So something I want to get off my chest, something I feel like, should have been warned about a little more before the whole acquisition happened between Fox and Disney. But that's just something, again, I've been thinking about this week, and I wanted to talk about it. So there you go, guys. All right, let's move on to the actual show then. Disney movies, Disney live action movies, to be a little more specific. Guys, we got a couple of trailers that came out for some good stuff that is heading our way. So, first off, I want to talk about Maleficent, Mistress of Evil. Now, we already got one trailer in regards to the sequel for this film. We got another one that just came out, I believe it was 2 days ago, is when it came out. Now, this is being directed by some guy whose name I can't say, but it's the same guy who directed Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales. The first Maleficent movie was a huge success financially. Story-wise, I wasn't a huge fan of it, although I did think Angelina Jolie did a good job. Think about these stories, these villain stories, is they make them so sympathetic. And Maleficent, probably one of the biggest Disney villains in the animated history, and they made her such a sympathetic character, kind of almost ruined the character, in my opinion. But that's what they're doing now. Even I have fears about, say, the Joker film being directed by Todd Phillips with Joaquin Phoenix, where these people are villains, these people are bad guys, and you make them these sympathetic characters that to feel for them. And I said it before, when I was talking about the Joker trailer, like, that trailer's like a guy who, is down on his luck and the world beats him down, so he decides to turn evil. You know what I call that? A pussy, okay? The world's going to beat you down, okay? If you're Captain America, you stand up and you say, hey, I could do this all day. But anyway, that's another discussion. Maleficent, Mistress Evil. This trailer gave us a little better idea about the story, where Aurora is engaged to the prince, and his mom, played by Michelle Pfeiffer, the queen, doesn't like that Maleficent is the godmother to Aurora, and probably trying to, bring Aurora more over to the human side. Probably a whole, race thing there where she doesn't like that Maleficent is different. And basically, you got mother-in-laws bickering, I guess, is what you could break down this trailer to. But anyway, I wasn't a huge fan, like I said, of the first film. I'm not really excited about this one either. It's one of those movies, looks like I'm not probably go see it in theaters unless my daughter wants to go see it, which I think is too scary for her. But I'll probably check it out when it comes to Blu-ray. I at least give everything a Redbox chance, is what I like to call it nowadays, just to see, if it's any good or not, and have some kind of opinion about it. So, but you guys, of course, let me know what you think about Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, the second trailer. Now, the other one that Disney came out with, I think it was the day before, was a teaser trailer for their live-action Mulan. I've never been a big fan of Mulan. Not a fan of really the animated movie. I can't honestly say if I've seen the film all the way through. Now, I do enjoy a couple of the songs. The main one, the "Who is the girl I see?" That one, yes, that one's a good one. My favorite though is "I'll Make a Man Out of You." It's a good one. I can't help but sing it. I know a lot of people that do. So I enjoy, the movie. Although I honestly don't know if I've seen it all the way through. Okay. But my wife enjoys the film, and the story itself is based on an old Chinese, story going hundreds of years ago. And it's a good story. It's definitely nice. With this one, I'd heard that Disney was, making some strides to make this something good with a big budget and, with a lot of drama, almost hoping to make it a Best Picture contender. So this teaser trailer comes out, and honestly, it does look like it could be a Best Picture contender. Because it looks like they're getting rid of all the Disney tropes. They're getting rid of, the songs. It doesn't look like a movie that's going to have any songs in it. If it does, they're going to be very brief and probably not sung by the characters. And we saw no mention of that dragon that Eddie Murphy voiced in the original one. And I know some people are upset about that, but when you look at this film, there's no room in this film for that kind of silliness, for songs and a talking dragon. It's not there. And honestly, that got me more excited to see the film. Because unlike some more recent Disney movies that, become live action, such as Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, even the upcoming Lion King, they seem very similar to their animated counterparts, which I'm don't get. Why would you remake a movie just to make the exact same thing, only live action? It doesn't seem interesting to me. That's why I wasn't, a huge fan of Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin. But on the flip side of that, I was talking to my wife about, again, I'm not a big fan of Mulan. The animated movie, I don't think I've ever really seen all the way through. Whereas Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King, those are like my holy trinity of Disney animated films, and I hold them up on a pedestal. I was at the right age when those films came out to where I loved them. They got a special place in my heart, and maybe I hold them a little more critical compared to other animated movies that I'm not a big fan of, such as The Jungle Book. I enjoyed the live-action Jungle Book, but I wasn't that big of a fan of the original animated material. Same thing with Mulan. Not a huge fan of the animated movie, which is why maybe I might feel a little better about the live-action film coming out. But in any event, anyone who just thinks about it and looks at this trailer can just see it looks very interesting. It looks like it's going to be quite the film. It's coming out March 27th. So as far as Oscar contenders, I don't really see that being, in there, because if it was, really an Oscar contender, I think you might want to put it out more in the fall. But anyway, it's being directed by Nikki Caro. Now, for those of you who don't know, she directed North Country with Charlize Theron, The Zookeeper's Wife with, what's her name? Jessica Chastain, and McFarlane USA. Now, guys, McFarlane USA, Kevin Costner, about a cross-country team. If you have not seen this Disney film, watch it. It's great, okay? So now that I realize that she's done these films, 3 films that I like, I'm more excited, honestly, for this film now, too. So, looking at the teaser, looking at the fact they're going to lose some of the, sillier portions of the animated series, give it a more serious take, and the fact that I think you got a strong director on there, I gotta say, I'm on board for this film. But let me know what you guys think, of course. What do you think of the trailer? Do you think they should add the songs? Do you like that it feels a little more serious compared to maybe the other live-action remakes they're doing nowadays over at Disney? But let me know. Hit me up. Social media groups, and, of course, dayscreendiscussions@gmail.com. All right, guys. Next up, Spider-Man Far From Home hit theaters on July 2nd. I went out with my crew and went to go see it. A lot of thoughts. I'm not a big Spider-Man fan. I enjoyed Spider-Man Homecoming. I think Tom Holland is great in the role. But really, I think everyone was wondering what this film was going to be, where it's kind of an epilogue for Avengers Endgame. Finishes off Phase 3 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Finishes off what they call the Infinity Saga, I guess is what Kevin Feige has called it. So, walked into it not really knowing, kind of what it was going to end like. Based on the trailers, I kind of had an idea. And the thing is about the trailers, it kind of gave quite a bit away. So, just to let you know, I'm going spoilers, guys. If you haven't seen the film by now, pause, come back, share my thoughts after you see the film. Well, let's start off with the villain, okay? Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio. First off, Jake Gyllenhaal, great performer, great actor. I knew he was going to do a great job. But he's Mysterio. And anyone who knows Mysterio knows he's a Spider-Man villain. So when that surprising turn came, for those of us who know the character, it wasn't that surprising. Okay? The other kind of twist in the movie was that, I guess maybe towards the end there, when Peter is talking to MJ, and she says, yeah, I know you're Spider-Man. It's obvious you're Spider-Man, right? And again, that was in the trailer, so I'm like, okay, there's another twist that wasn't that surprising because it was in the trailer. So this film was kind of more paint by numbers, in my opinion, because, it really didn't do anything that shocked me until the mid-credit scene, which I'll get to in just a sec. But yeah, it was just going along, Mysterio, and, kind of stumbled its way through, I guess is what you would say. It didn't really surprise me or captivate me that much. You just had Peter Parker going on his journey, lots of laughs, lots and lots of jokes. I get it. That's great. We're dealing with a young kid here or young kids, so throw in the humor. I get it. That's great. Maybe a little smidge too much for me, but again, not a huge Spider-Man fan. I'm not going to be overly critical of it, so I'll let it slide. In the ranking of the MCU films, I'd probably put it in the bottom half, not towards the bottom, but in the bottom half of the MCU films. I gotta say, I probably like Spider-Man Homecoming a little more, maybe because it was just a smaller story, I guess, a little more simple of a story, in my opinion. I enjoy Jake Gyllenhaal, but I think that Michael Keaton as the Vulture, his character, his story was better than what Gyllenhaal's was. But overall, not a bad film. It's fine, but it didn't do anything to really excite me or anything that really was special about it compared to any other Spider-Man films or anything like that. And of course, that being said too, at work on the weekends, we have a TV there, and we get DirecTV, and I'll usually put on, something just to, kind of look over as I'm helping customers, and, maybe something that kids can watch because you got to keep it family friendly. I totally get it. But with the summer films coming out, it seems like, you have all these other stations playing the prequels to the films. Like FX was showing X-Men movies before Dark Phoenix came out. Disney Channel, I know last weekend or so, was showing some of the Toy Story films when Toy Story 4 was about to come out. And this weekend, FX was showing some of the Spider-Man films. So I turned those on. And I've always had this little debate lately of like, okay, do I like Spider-Man Homecoming more than I like Spider-Man 2, which is, everyone's favorite Spider-Man film for a long time. And, as I was working, I was kind of watching Spider-Man 2 or glancing at it over my shoulder. Spider-Man 2 is the best. Yes, I don't know why I ever doubted it. It's probably because it's been so long since I've seen the film. I mean, I didn't even sit there and really watch the film, but just glancing over my shoulder and, watching a liner here too, Spider-Man 2, still the best Spider-Man film. So I'm going to put that to bed right now. Spider-Man Homecoming, I think is my number 2, beating the original Spider-Man film, but Spider-Man 2, still the best Spider-Man film. Anyway, so what I really want to talk about is the mid-credit scene and the post-credit scene. So let's go in order. Mid-credit scene, Peter takes MJ on a little swing around town, and that was cute. They're a recent couple. He kind of shows her kind of what his life is like, and it's cute, okay? This was probably the best part of the film. Honestly, the best part of the film was the mid-credit scene, in my opinion, because number one, it kind of gave Mysterio the last laugh, or, the last line, you would say, where he pulled a trick, because he's all about the tricks, about making it seem like Spider-Man killed him in cold blood, painting him as a villain instead of a hero. And number two, revealing his identity. What? That's right. He told the whole world that Peter Parker was Spider-Man, and Peter puts his hands together like he's, on Home Alone or something like that. It was an interesting thing just because to reveal that kind of something big at the end of the second film, when they've got probably half a dozen films planned for this Spider-Man, seemed a little, early, in my opinion, I guess. I mean, yes, in Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire, a lot of people learned who he was, but it wasn't like worldwide news, I guess. So find it was very interesting. But of course, the best part, the part I cheered for, yes, I literally cheered. Asked my wife, I cheered when I saw that J.K. Simmons is back as J. Jonah Jameson. Oh my God, I get excited just saying that out loud. Oh man. Of course, playing J. Jonah Jameson in the original Tobey Maguire films. That was one of those castings where, like, how could you find anyone better? Well, you can't. So John Watts, the director of the film, said that they did it very secretly, they did it very quickly, and, there it is. Now, what is the extent of him doing it in, say, the next Spider-Man film or future films? I don't know, but if it's something that they're going to use on a regular basis, I'm totally okay with it. Totally excited about it. And of course, the fact that it fits in because, of course, J. Jonah Jameson doesn't like Spider-Man, thinks he's a villain, put him in this particular spot where Mysterio tricks everyone into thinking Spider-Man's a villain. So, of course, Jameson has to comment on that. It was great. It was definitely, it's the setup for the sequel. Now, whether we're going to get another Spider-Man film before we get, say, another film he might be in, like an Avengers film or whatever, I don't know. But, yeah. The best part of the film was that mid-credit scene, not because of the shock in the surprise, but also for me because of J.K. Simmons, Oscar winner J.K. Simmons, back as J. Jonah Jameson. I love it. Okay, and the last thing we're going to talk about is, of course, the post-credit scene, Skrulls. That's right, the Skrulls. We come to find out Nick Fury and Agent Maria Hill in this film are Skrulls, and Nick Fury himself is out in space with a Skrull crew. Looks like he's captaining a Skrull crew, and he might have to come back to Earth to help out with a few things. So, a couple of questions, obviously, is how long has Nick Fury been in space? How long has this Skrull, I think it's Ben Mendelsohn's character, right, been impersonating him? Has it been like after the snap, before the snap? What's going on there? And also Maria Hill. Now, back when Captain Marvel was about to come out, okay, there's the whole comic book line about Secret Invasion where the Skrulls had infiltrated the Marvel Universe and superheroes were turning out to be Skrulls. And so I kind of contemplated who maybe in the MCU might secretly be a Skrull. I said, Agent Maria Hill, played by Kobe Smulders. I told you, go back, listen. She's a Skrull. Now, given the fact that in this scene we saw an actual Nick Fury, but with Maria Hill, how do we know she hasn't been a Skrull the entire time in the MCU? I don't think we have, honestly. I mean, we know there's a Nick Fury. Did we see a Maria Hill somewhere? No. So, I think my theory of that, the fact that she's been a Skrull the entire time, could possibly go to play out. Either way, I'm still kind of half right because of this post-credits scene. But this also gives us a sense of what's coming in Phase 4 for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We know there are a couple of cosmic movies on the horizon. We know they're casting for Eternals. We know that Guardians 3 script's been written. That's probably going to come together pretty soon. There are talks about Nova, the film coming, which makes sense in my opinion, given the fact that the Nova Corps is very present in the cosmic universe. A lot of, cosmic presence that I think is on the horizon. So Nick Fury hanging out with the Skrulls in space makes sense. What they're doing, we'll just have to wait and see. Might even be something for a Captain Marvel sequel too. I mean, I don't know. We'll find out what's going on there. But Spider-Man Far From Home, it was okay. It wasn't anything special in my opinion. Very cookie cutter. There, I got it out. Cookie cutter, I guess you would say. But the mid-credit scene, the way, that was really the twist. I mean, the Mysterio thing, the MJ thing, those weren't really twists because I saw them coming a mile away. But J.K. Simmons revealing Spider-Man's identity, all that stuff, that was really the biggest twist and the best part of the film for me. And I think it was the director, John Watts, or maybe it was Kevin Feige, that said, now that you know from the post-credit scene that Hill and Fury are Skrulls, to go back and rewatch the film and kind of, look at it from a different perspective, which I will when it comes out on Blu-ray. I'm not going to go see it again in theaters, just didn't enjoy the film that much. But I'll watch it again, and I'll have that in mind when I do. But time for you guys to fire back. Did you go see Spider-Man Far From Home? What did you think of it? How does it rank in the Spider-Man films for you? Let me know, guys. Of course, hit me up, Facebook group, Twitter account, DayspringDiscussions at gmail.com. Send me your Spider-Man list, okay? There are now, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Spider-Man films out there. 8 if you include Venom, which I don't because it's horrible. But give me your Spider-Man films ranking, of course. I want to know what you think. Okay, guys, last thing for today, of course. July 4th saw a new season of Stranger Things coming to Netflix. All 8 episodes were dropped on the 4th on Netflix. I know a lot of people who were so excited about this and binged it and loved it. My brother's a huge fan. I know several friends that are huge fans of Stranger Things. I enjoy it. I don't love it, but I enjoy it. Season 1 was okay for me. I really like season 2 to where I was looking forward to season 3, and I did enjoy season 3. I didn't like it as much as, say, season 2, but I enjoyed season 3 of this show. So now I'm going to sit here and talk a little bit about it. Of course, you guys fire back and let me know what you think. So with this one, of course, it's 1985, so there are a lot of 85 tropes where you had Back to the Future in the mix. You had the rise of the mall, of course, which happened in the 80s. I remember as a little kid, my grandmother worked at a drugstore in a small town. And slowly it went out of business because places such as, a Walmart or a CVS or something like that were starting to grow, putting these small town pharmacies or small town stores out of business. So it was interesting to see that relevance in there as well. And of course, you did have a bunch of other 80s references. That's kind of what Stranger Things is. It plays off that 80s nostalgia, not only from what it was, like New Coke. They had New Coke all over this damn season, but also from a horror perspective. I remember this series taps into a lot of the feels of the 80s horror or sci-fi genre. I get a lot of the feeling from this, which again just taps into that nostalgia factor, which is the main driving force behind this show. It does have some great characters. I'll definitely agree to that, but it's the nostalgia of the 80s and the 80s horror genre that really keeps this ship afloat. So first off, I want to talk about a couple negatives in this season. I enjoyed it. Okay, I'm going to get to some positives here in a little bit, but really, for me, it wasn't anything too different. I mean, in this one, the mind flare was a little different. In the first season, you had the Demogorgon or whatever, that dog or whatever, I guess you would say, that they were fighting. In the second one, they were actually fighting the mind flare that had taken over Will. In this one, the mind flare had evolved, I guess you would say, kind of taking a little different method, taking over the bodies of people and then merging them to be one giant monster. In that case, so they made it a little different, but still it's like it was in season 2, where the main thing was they had to close the gate. The Russians had shown up. Of course, it's the 80s, so the Russians got to be the bad guys. You knew that was coming, but they had to shut down the gate. Same thing in season 2, except for I felt like in season 2, with Eleven and Hopper down there doing their thing, it was a little more interesting, in my opinion, as to how it happened in season 2 versus season 3. Little more dramatic and, a little more personal, I guess you would say. So for that's to me where season 2 was a little better and where season 3 fell a little flat, mainly because, like I said, it was same thing, shut down the gate. No, that was the goal. Another thing I didn't like about season 3 was Joyce and Hopper, where, the first 2 seasons, I never really thought of them as a romantic interest for each other. I always thought of them as just old friends. Even at the end of season 2, when they're sitting outside the dance waiting for the kids, you got that just sense of friendship and not really a romantic relationship. So I felt like it was almost forced in this season just for the payoff at the end when Joyce has to make the choice to close the gate and sacrifice Hopper. They could have done that just as old friends, as her trying, again, to having to sacrifice her old friend, her best friend, really, to close the gate. It didn't have to be a romantic interest. Of course, we all know Hopper's coming back. There was that little tag at the end of the scene, which, if you didn't stick around for it, what are you thinking, of course, because there was no tag before the credits started rolling at the end of that 8th episode, which there's always some kind of tag that the monsters are coming back. it wasn't until maybe a minute or two into the credits that the snow started to fall and you're back in Russia and they're coming around to this prison and they say, no, not the American, get the other guy. Well, obviously they're talking about the American. They're talking about Hopper. I mean, that's kind of obvious in my opinion. So Hopper's still alive. He's coming back. Don't worry about that. But also I think it's season 4 too was supposed to be the last season for this series, which honestly I think would fit because much like season 3, they just had to close the gate. The gate was opening and they had to close it, okay? Not exactly that different from what season 2 happened. So originality, let's end before it becomes really old as far as storylines. But anyway, going back to it, my other problem I guess with season 3 was Billy. Billy, we knew from the trailers or had an idea that he was going to be the villain. Now, he was kind of a standout character in season 2 for being the asshole, for being the bad guy, for being the rival for Steve, which I really enjoyed the joke they started where, Steve's never really won a fight because in the first season, Jonathan beat him up, and in the second season, Billy beat him up. So he's never really won a fight until he fought the Russian guard, and Dustin's like, hey, you finally won a fight. But Billy, he was an asshole in season 2, and I don't think we ever saw him being redeemed, I guess, until at all that season. So he comes into season 3, and he's flirting with Mrs. Wheeler, which, when they first put out that little pool scene for a teaser, I think it was a month or two ago, it was hilarious. It was a good one, to go with. Billy then gets taken over by the Mind Flayer. He's kind of the head guy for all of this. Elle goes into his mind, kind of sees his psychosis and why he ends up being such a jerk. And in the end, he comes out as a good guy and sacrifices himself to try to save Elle and everyone. And Max, his stepsister, is broken up about it. And I gotta say, why? Okay? He's a jerk. Okay? We never saw anything redemptive about this character until he sacrificed himself. Okay? We never saw him be nice to Max once. We never saw him be nice to anyone until his death. Okay? Why would I care if he died? Why? I saw no reason to care about his death because all he's ever been is a bad guy. And I don't give a fuck if the bad guy dies. So maybe it's just me. Maybe you feel differently. Of course, I would love to hear your thoughts if you think differently. I was much more broken up about Bob's death, Sean Astin, in season 2, because he was kind of that lovable, goofy guy that did something heroic and met a horrible end. So I was much more broken up about Bob than I was about Will. Or Billy, excuse me, not Will. Billy, sorry. But speaking of the kids, what do they do? Okay, let's look at it. You have this whole gang full of kids, okay? Will was kind of the centerpiece of the first 2 seasons where he was the one that was lost in the Upside Down. In season 2, he was the one taken over by the Mind Flayer, so he had that central piece. In season 3, he's kind of that fifth wheel to the other ones who are finding relationships, and he gets these little tingles in the back of his neck, sensing that the bad guys are near. Well, you can hear the bad guys coming from a mile away. So Will was pretty much pointless in this season, in my opinion. Max didn't really do anything except for hang out with Elle. Lucas did, have the fireworks, so I'll give him that. He served a little bit of peace. Mike was just there for emotional support for Elle or 11. I get that. Jonathan, not doing too much except for being a little bitch around Nancy. Nancy's cute, but damn, that girl is skinny. Way too skinny for my taste. But, Nancy fighting for the women's rights and, that whole movement. So I get her storyline. I'm fine with that. I love the little heart-to-heart with her mom because what we know about her mom in this season, and Nancy and their little heart-to-heart, I really enjoyed that. Those two characters coming together, finding the common ground and, telling her daughter to, keep fighting and keep going. The Scoop Troop, as they're called. I saw this hilarious meme where It was Steve from season 2 where he had the bat that he used to fight the Demogorgon. And then you had Robin next to him, so they said Batman and Robin. Ha ha ha. It was a funny meme. The Scoop Troop, Steve, he's one of those guys that last season he became lovable. I mean, season 1 he was the jerk, but season 2 he became more lovable to where at the end of the season 2 he drops Dustin off at the dance, and you see him looking at Nancy, and you have that feeling that he still likes Nancy, he still wants Nancy, and he thinks he's in love with Robin then, but it turns out that Robin is gay. And it turns out Robin is also Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman's daughter in real life. So that was kind of a revelation for me. But that character served her purpose. I thought she was great. I thought Steve was great. Definitely one of my favorite characters in this series. Probably top 3, definitely, for me. In Stranger Things, Steve, he's a great guy to watch. Erica, because you can't spell America without Erica. She, is kind of a bossy little thing. And in season 2 and 1, she was funny. She was a lot more involved in this season than she was in past seasons. And the whole joke about how she keeps on calling Dustin and Lucas nerds. But, when you come to find out, she has kind of a My Little Pony nerd thing going on. And at the end, she gets the Dungeons and Dragons games, which makes you think that, she's going to go full-blown nerd probably in the next season, start playing Dungeons and Dragons with her friends. And Dustin, oh Dustin, all I can say is the never-ending story. Anyone who's seen that movie years ago when you were a kid suddenly got this horrible flashback of being a kid again and watching that movie, and that song, as soon as they started singing it, I knew what it was, and it just put a big old smile on my face. But then I think about that film as well when he loses his horse, and that makes me sad. But anyway, they started singing it. It was hilarious. And of course, they're going to tease Dustin about that. Hopefully, the rest of the series, I want to see them continually singing this song for the rest of the Stranger Things series because I think it was great. All right, and going back to our main girl, 11, great character, really holds it all together. Her powers, of course, but now at the end of the season, she's kind of lost her powers. Whether she's going to get them back, I don't know. My theory is, from the moment she got bitten or tried to be taken by the mind flare, I knew that was going to have some effect on her. And of course, we saw the little thing, to kind of grow inside of her get it out. I think she's still infected somehow by the mind flare, and that's why she's having trouble with her powers. That's my theory, of course, and I think it's going to come, into play in the next season. I think she's going to get her powers back, but I think, somehow she's still connected, still infected by the mind flare. Again, just my little theory I'm tinkering with there. But Stranger Things season 3, I enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy it as well as season 2. I thought it wasn't as creative as some of the parts of season 2, but I still enjoyed it. Still looking forward to another season when that comes out. But now I want to know what you guys think. Okay, let me know if you like Stranger Things 3. What'd you think about it? Are you looking forward to season 4? What are some of your theories? All that stuff. Okay, let me know. Hit me up. Facebook group, Twitter account, and dayspringdiscussions@gmail.com. And that's going to be it for me today, guys. I got to go. Today is the day my little daughter gets her cast off. That's right. The last day of school, 4 or 5 weeks ago, she was at a trampoline park and broke her foot. So she's had a cast on pretty much all summer so far. Today she's supposed to get it off. And then we're going to go for snow cones and we're going to go swimming without a damn cast. So it's going to be a good day. Like I said, I'm on vacation this week too. I got a friend flying in tomorrow We're going to have some fun. Thursday, we're going to Six Flags. It's going to be a great rest of the week, guys. Hopefully, I'll be back on Thursday with some more news. Until then, of course, fire back. Let me know what you think. Also, if you enjoyed this show, head on over to my Patreon page and donate $1. That's right. $1 gives me more motivation to do more shows, to do better shows, and hopefully, maybe eventually, if enough people donate, get better equipment. As I said, I do this stuff with a $20 microphone and an 8-year-old computer, so it's not exactly high quality here, but I love to do it. That's why I do it. And, anything you can give, I would love for you to do that. So that's it, guys. Find me on Twitter and Instagram, Slim Dayspring 12. And like I said, hopefully I will be back on Thursday with some more stuff. If not, it's because life is happening, guys. You should go out and live it yourselves. Until then, may the force be with us all.